So, not long ago, news breaks in college football that's sure to excite Alabama fans, but if you're someone who's been preying on the downfall of the Crimson Tide, you're probably fairly unhappy. Because not only is Nick Saban once again the highest paid college football coach in the nation, but he signs a contract extension that keeps him with the Crimson Tide through 2030. Today, we need to talk about not only why this is such a big deal, but why, if you've been paying attention, this should come as no surprise. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Are you surprised by this news? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, like and comment down below, as those interactions, though seemingly small, are truly massively impactful for content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And we need to start by talking about why this is such a big deal. And it's very obvious, first and foremost. Anytime you can have a coach with the legendary status of Nick Saban staying at a university, that's a big deal for said university. But the one thing it provides Alabama that many people may not expect for this to be a net positive is more legitimacy on the recruiting trail. And I know what you're thinking. Alabama needs more legitimacy? No, that's actually something they didn't need, but nonetheless, this provides it to them. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I brought up in the intro that if you've been paying attention, this comes as no surprise, because this year during SEC Media Days, Nick Saban made it a point to talk about how other programs, other coaches are using the uncertainty of when he could retire to negative recruit against the Crimson Tide, telling prospects that Alabama has offered, hey, Nick might not be there for 4 years, so you may be better served looking elsewhere because who knows when Nick Saban will retire. Nick Saban made it a point to address this and even said to the panel, why don't you ask the other coaches when I'm going to retire, because they're telling all the recruits it's going to be soon. Even though Nick Saban can tell these prospects, no, I'm not going to retire, these other coaches continually are going to use that as a negative way to recruit Alabama. So whenever he's able to put this in writing, sure, he could retire before 2030. That's not my contention here, but it does add another air of legitimacy to Alabama's pitch. And anytime a coach says, hey, he might retire a year from now, 2 years from now, they can go back and say, well, he just signed a contract extension. He doesn't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So it gives Alabama more legitimacy than they already had, which is absolutely crazy to think about. But the only reason why I even bring that point up, the only reason why I think it is a point that deserves to be talked about, is it's because something Nick Saban brought up himself during SEC Media Days. And Saban does not waste oxygen. We all know Nick Saban. If he's saying something, he's making a point. So the second he brought it up, my ears perked up, and it's been something we haven't talked about here on the channel. I believe we touched it very lightly during a live stream, but it's something that needed to be taken note of. And I think whenever we fast forward to this situation right here, now all of a sudden, that's going to be much harder to do to Alabama, to go to these prospects and say, hey, he could retire any day, because now they've just seen breaking headlines. He signed a contract to remain at Alabama through 2030. So this is huge for Alabama. Nick Saban remains, which is going to be great for Alabama fans. We know what he's done for the Crimson Tide and what he's done for college football, and he's had an era of dominance that, quite frankly, I just don't think has ever been seen before. And the craziest thing about it, the scariest thing about it, it doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon, as the team they're about to field is full of stars. Bryce Young could be in New York again and could repeat at the Heisman, and nobody would bat an eyelash. Will Anderson might be the best player in college football, coming off of a year where he had 17 and a half sacks and was incredible in stopping the run as well. He's not one-dimensional. He is as talented stopping the run as he is at affecting the quarterback. You have a Jahmyr Gibbs who transfers in, who Nick Saban has lauded over consistently. You have Dallas Turner opposite of Will Anderson, ensuring nobody's going to be able to double Will Anderson, because Dallas Turner is about to put the nation on notice. This doesn't seem to be slowing down for Alabama. And sure, you can point to me and say, yes, Ty, but after this year, they might lose Bryce Young, they might lose Will Anderson. The thing I'm going to point to you is that they continue recruiting at an insane rate. Sure, they didn't have the number one class in the nation last year, but what they did have is the number one average player rating in the nation last year. They just didn't sign as many players as Texas A&M. But if all things were held equal, they would have had a better class had they signed just as many players. Once again, that's holding all things equal and assuming that the average player rating would have continued through, which would have been incredibly impressive, but you get my point. And then we fast forward to this year. They're putting together an insane class, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, especially not when other teams have been trying to negative recruit the Crimson Tide, questioning how long Nick Saban will be there, and he just answered that question. I can't wait to hear from y'all. Hop down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.